City, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. These are their stories.
Hola, everybody. It's Josh here kicking things off, which is weird for everyone, I'm sure. We're touching base with Natalie for some bonus content here. You may remember Natalie from when we talked about, was it Guardian? Was that what it was called? No, not Guardian. No. It was the soldier one. Service.
Service.
Yes. So yes, we did a dissenting opinion mini bit for Service with Natalie. I can't remember what episode that was cut into, but this will be bonus content solely. So we've been kicking this idea around for a little while about talking about season 5, mostly about how it has an axe to grind with mothers. But Natalie, having just watched all of season 5, which I'm sure was quite the undertaking, kind of came back to there being 3 themes that kept creeping into episodes, 2 a few times, and then moms a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, more than half. Yes.
Yeah. In, a dozen of the 25 episodes, these moms were bad moms, which, obviously as a podcast that's at some point in the near future going to have Bad Moms Club merchandise, it seems apropos to dive into season 5 here. So I guess, Natalie, do you want to reintroduce yourself to the audience first?
Yeah, to the friends, the Munchy friends. Yes. Hi. Briefly, my name's Natalie. She, her, and I live in Massachusetts, a small town on Cape Cod. And I've been not Falmouth.
Okay.
Though I do go to Falmouth.
Okay, right on.
For all my sexual awakenings.
Sure.
Yes, that's
to
where
be
they
perked
happen.
on by your friend's dad.
Yep. That's the plan. On the dock of the bay. No, but I live in Cape. I've been a pretty faithful Munchy for, I think, about a year. I know I had my kid when I started listening to the podcast. She's 18 months old now, so a little over a year probably.
Yeah.
And just really loved the vibe that Josh and Adam put out and reached out, said, hey, I'd love to be part of this in some way. And here we are.
Yeah.
And so one of the ideas was, because the podcast is done randomly,
yes,
to at times step back and look at the seasons and what's going on in that period of time for SVU.
Sure.
And so when I originally wrote about season 5, I said, I'm looking at my notes to y'all, whose mom pissed them off in 2003 in the writer's room.
And it seems like it was everyone's.
Seems like it was everyone. Yeah. It's like, instead of going to therapy, let's write about our moms, Yeah,
they're clearly their insurance sucked this year or something. There must have been an issue with therapy and the WGA. WGA insurance was not covering therapy anymore.
They brought it in.
Yep.
Catharsis. Yeah. So Josh said, we were thinking, let's talk about season 5. And it just happens that this is the season that has been come up on the randomizer the most.
Because it has the most episodes, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, season 5 has 25, and I believe that's the most.
As someone who knows a lot about TV, why is that this season has so many more episodes than some of the others? Where just in the contract, they had to produce more?
Season 4 also had 25. So 4 and 5 were the 2 25-episode orders. 22 is pretty standard, and then if a show's doing really well, they might add 2 or 3 to the back end. They can sell ads.
Got it.
It might have had to do with getting it to syndication earlier, too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, who knows? But because there are more, you also do get, I'm not going to talk about this in this podcast per se, but you get a Kragen episode, which you don't always get. Y'all haven't rolled that one yet, but there's Criminal, which is...
Oh, with James McDaniel.
Yeah, episode 21 that really focuses on Kragen. So... that's a rarity. There's a Munchisode too that y'all haven't rolled, but so you get a little bit more variety. But yes, as we will talk about, most of these 25 episodes delve into the world of motherhood, and
it's really wild.
It's really wild. Yeah. And as you can expect, Olivia's front and central to that too, right? At one time in my notes I was writing, is this whole season just a taunt to Olivia, about how, what horrible moms are out there, yet she can't manage to have a child.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yes. Yeah. Anyway, let me just dive in and say that as I was watching the season recently, 3 things stuck out to me. The first 2 I'll just pop through pretty quickly, but one of them is that this is recent to 9/11, and so there's a lot of misinformation about Islam in this season, and also a heavy dose of Islamophobia that you get, not just from the perpetrators and the people who they're prosecuting, but also from the detectives themselves.
And that means then that it's from creative.
Yes. That's who's writing it.
It's 2 years removed from 9/11. The premiere is September 23rd, 2003. So it's just 2 years removed. And it's still a very raw, open wound at this point.
Yeah.
We're about to invade Iraq on bullshit. Didn't that happen in 2003?
Yeah, that was right. That is when we did the invasion, making really good choices about going into places that we absolutely don't need to be in. But so there's, both some very central episodes to Islam and Islamophobia, hate, which y'all covered in episode 73. And then also just a lot of throwaway lines. You haven't covered this episode yet, but Serendipity, which is episode 5 in this season, it opens with these people trying to figure out, testing the water, and this woman's like, is this another terrorist attack? Mm-hmm. That's the voice of the extra. So there's a lot of throwaway content around it, but also central content. And then the second,
sorry, I had the timeline a little off. It was March of 2003 that we went into Iraq. So the writer's room is gearing up while we have just kicked off this conflict on bullshit charges that weren't totally obvious were bullshit, but
now are.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, certainly a lot of people at the time thought it was bullshit, but
yes.
Yeah. It was sold. We were sold a bill of goods.
Yeah. A false bill of goods. Yeah. And then the second theme that came up, which Josh and Adam y'all have actually talked a lot about, because you covered both of these episodes, Abomination and Lowdown. Which am I wrong that it's called the Down Low, not the Lowdown? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the episode is called Lowdown.
I think Lowdown was to not give it away, probably.
That makes sense.
That would be my guess, because I think Finn says that they're on the down low.
Yeah.
So I think it was just a play to not give it away in the title, what the twist was going to be.
Got it. It's the PSA from public service announcement from Finn about what the down low is. In that episode. So there's both of those episodes are asking the question about what does it mean to come out? What are the impacts of it? What is it like to live as a closeted gay man? Which this is only saying this for people who haven't listened to the Munch My Benson episodes, which if you're interested are 29 and 108 are connected to Neil Baer, really, in some ways, perhaps, asking the same question at the same time. So,
Yeah, if listeners aren't aware, Neil Baer himself at the time was closeted and was living the life of a straight man. He was married, he had a child. I don't know if he and his wife I don't know when their relationship ended, but he hadn't come to terms with his sexuality until relatively late in life.
Right.
And so I think Neil Baer tended to let the writers write episodes more than like Warren Leight and Julie Martin did. I think when you hear about Neil Baer as a showrunner, when you hear writers who wrote under him, they're always very grateful to him. And I know on Twitter I saw one of his former writers talking about how not all showrunners do this, but Neil Baer was very clearly like, I make enough money as the showrunner. I don't need to be taking your money from residuals by throwing my name on it. Because the more people who are on an episode as a writer, the more the residuals are divided up. So
that makes sense. Yeah. So we don't know in what proximity he was to these 2 episodes, but as we're saying that I think both of these episodes make this question about coming out nuanced and also give some real empathy.
Islamophobia.
Yes, more than the If we're on a scale of nuance to objective, in your face. Yes. But no, they add some complication to it and really give some empathy to people who decide just, reasons for being, not coming out and the impact it has on family members and relationships. So good episodes. That's going on too. And then we get, again, 16 out of 25 episodes that put moms on the hot seat, you might say. And 12 of those in which they are the main perpetrator or culprit within the episode, which,
As a man, I find it very refreshing.
I thought about that because in one of the episodes, the last episode of this season, episode 25, Head, which y'all haven't covered yet, it's about a principal who has a tumor in her brain, and she goes off her wheels and starts sleeping with one of her students. But interestingly enough, they find a way to blame the boy's mother because she's an alcoholic. So get this bad mom focus of if this boy's mom wasn't an alcoholic, then maybe.
He wouldn't have banged his principal.
He would have banged his principal.
Fantastic.
There's some really bad drunk acting in that episode. The mom
as bad as in Choice?
It's also a theme. Moms who drink. Again, there you go. Twice in one season. But I am trying to think of who I think is more believably drunk. I think the Choice actor is more believably drunk.
Josie
this
Bissett.
woman is... than the mom in that one. But anyway, in that last episode, they say only 10% of pedophiles are women. I thought, wow, if only 10% of women are, it's different pedophiles and perpetrators, but for only a 10%, y'all sure really focused on it in this, in this season.
Yeah.
So some of these you've covered. Manic Mother is a highlight of the season.
Mother's got a very bad mom.
Has multiple bad moms.
Home has a very bad mom.
Yeah. Mother has multiple bad moms because it has the fake mom grandmother that was abusing the kid, and then the real mom who killed the grandmother and sexually assaulted the therapist.
Well, I don't know that she's necessarily a bad mom.
You don't think so? Are you being serious?
I'm mostly joking. But was she given the chance to be a bad mom?
Or a good mom?
I'm only, she's a bad person who is a mother. I don't know that within the framework of bad moms, she was a bad mom necessarily. Because I think she didn't have any agency in the raising of the child.
Because she was forced to abandon her child.
Yes.
I guess there's a question about vigilante motherhood there.
Sure.
Is it an appropriate act as a mother to take matters into your own hands and harm a therapist who was doing maternal reenactments with your adult son child? I think that's probably questionable.
The maternal reenactments seem questionable also.
Yeah. This woman thinks she's a mom.
Yeah. Which I think that's more disturbing, honestly, than the avenging angel mother who didn't get to be a mom.
Yeah. And I wrote this down on what I was thinking about, but apparently one of the lines is that she says, wouldn't you do the same thing for your son to live? So again, kind of pushing Liv's button around what it really means to be a mom, and does Liv have what it takes, or, could she step up? Do you think that if Noah's therapist was pulling that nonsense, Liv would draw her into a crack house and beat her up?
Maybe. Liv doesn't do rational things with people who come between her and baby doe.
Noah. Yeah. So, and then Choice.
Yeah.
The fetal alcohol poisoning episode. You'll cover that, which is really kind of a hot mess of an episode, as well as a hot mess of a mom. And then Hate, which is actually one of the Islamophobia episods, but has a mom who made her son racist.
Yeah.
Because of her own sadness. So anyway, we're not going to go through a dozen episodes here and just break them down piece by piece. But
and Sick also. Well, it's Sick. It's grandmother, but
yes, you covered Sick, and you covered Bound and Home, which I want to talk about a little bit more, because what I went through and I started to say was, which of these moms is the worst? If we're going to do Bad Mom Club for season 5.
So this is Mount Rushmore of bad moms.
Yeah.
Or
Mount
3.
Rushmore.
Unholy triumvirate.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not sure, so you can tell me if you get to put on your basic criteria that you just put on here about the mom in Mother, because I have a little question. I mean, Bound, which I covered in Munch by Vincent 22, is like the thesis statement for the whole episode, right?
For the whole season.
Whole season, thanks. Whole season. So this woman, nurse, goes on a killing spree.
Jane Krakowski, for listeners who need a little refresher.
And decides that we don't even know they're bad moms. She sees all these women who are bound, because it's a double entendre there, bound to their mothers emotionally, and decides to bind them, strangle them, literally, and or induce strokes in these people. So the bad mom isn't even really present in this episode. And we actually don't know how bad Jane Krakowski's mom was, because all we get is this one video playing on loop of her watching the mother. So it's a very, for this to be the thesis statement of the season, we don't even see the bad mom in it, but she's clearly the central part of the episode. And is this of saying it would be better for moms to die than for their children to have to deal with their bullshit?
Sure.
That's, there you go. Season 5, right there.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. It also made me think when I was watching that episode, have y'all covered the episode where Carol Burnett is in it yet?
No, we haven't hit that one yet, with her and Matthew Lillard.
Okay, we'll get to that in the future. There's a
I'm looking forward
videos
to it.
Playing, similarly, which is never a good sign of someone's mental state.
Yeah.
We don't even know what she really looks like, this mom, but I'd put her on Mount Rushmore she caused the death of hundreds of other moms.
Right.
And
she was so bad that she got other moms killed.
Yes.
By the dozens.
At least.
I don't think we're ever meant to actually know how many moms she dispatched.
Yeah. There also, I don't know if this came out since y'all covered that episode, but there's that movie. You talked about the guy in Germany who was doing the assisted suicide or the mercy killings.
I can't remember. Was it me or Adam? I bet it was Adam who talked about it.
It's a doctor. Anyway, there's a doctor who you talked about that had, I think, over 400 patients or so, so that.
Sure.
But since y'all released this episode, there's the Bad Nurse on Netflix, too, which is a series about a nurse that was doing assisted suicide. And for people who are curious.
Were they involuntary?
Mm-hmm.
Involuntary. So
it's not assisted suicide. Yeah. Mercy killings.
Yeah.
That's better. Way of saying it. But the reason I'm using the term assisted suicide is because David Brooks actually just put a piece out on The Atlantic recently about assisted suicide that was really interesting. So for anyone who wants to read that. I'll add it to the show notes. Yeah. It's really about Canada's policies and what goes from a desired mercy killing to, is this questionable policy?
Sure.
Where is the right line around this? Okay, that's not.
Do we need death panels?
Do we need? Yeah, that's what they. Well, they are. There are death panels, but they're not doing their job, is what he's saying. So in Canada, anyway, that's not the focus of our conversation. But it just made me think of it when I was watching and listening to y'all talk about Bound. So then I'm going to bring up a mom for Mount Rushmore of bad moms who was not covered yet.
Okay.
Episode 18, Careless. Quick synopsis of this episode is that there's a foster family, and the cold open is that this foster son is being rushed into the ER, and he's dead, and they can't resuscitate him. They think he was killed at a church service where there was an exorcism happening, which is not the only SVU that goes into this line of potentially. And mild racism, a black church. I don't know that they've ever done an episode about a white church where there's exorcisms happening, but a black church, doing an exorcism over this kid. But it turns out that, in fact, the foster mom had suffocated him.
Well, they're really going to impugn the foster care system? They're usually very leery about doing it.
I think this is the first time they take on, I also wrote that they take on the foster system. They do the exact same thing again with Whoopi Goldberg and in Institutional Fail. It's almost...
Well, that's not quite foster care. That's more like ACS or whatever. But foster care specifically, like, it feels like most of the time when they show a foster parent, they actually show the foster parent being like a really good parent. I mean, that's obviously something that Adam and I have just come across randomly, but like, I'm having a hard time thinking of, I know there's had to have been one, but I can't remember a foster parent looking bad yet. So I can't wait to hit this one. So we get the dark side. Oh,
you'll get it. Yeah. You get the other side. Yeah. Because you're right. There's that episode, the other, it's actually another Kragan episode where the kid is being fought over, the baseball player.
Yeah, that's
kid. It's early for sure. And then there's also, even in this season, Choice, there's a good foster to adoption family that comes up that has adopted this fetal alcohol syndrome, the kid with fetal alcohol syndrome. And they also take on the foster care system because they put on trial the woman who was supposed to be watching out for this kid. So they go through that. I mean, that's what reminded me of Institutional Fail, is that they also say that the caseworker wasn't doing her job. That's why he died. I'll be looking for that other episode.
Yeah, sorry. I'm really irritated that I can't fucking find it. I know it's early. What the hell one is it? Stolen?
It's the Adopt.
No. Yeah, it is Stolen. Season 3, episode 3. We did it in episode 48. It's the one that opens with Carrie Green.
Oh, yeah. Can't we just kid the kid? No, that's right. Can't we just kid the kid in half?
Yeah.
That would be it.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That was the Dick Wolf. The episode name was I Made This Kid With My Sperm.
Yes. But it's good because it definitely, I think it's actually one of multiple times that Elliot's Catholic upbringing harkens in the Solomon story in SVU. He brings it up multiple times.
He loves to Catholic on people.
Even though Stabler is not an Irish Catholic last name. But yes, he
Germanic.
loves Stabler. That's Irish. You'll understand.
Totally.
Me. So you will meet this mom in Careless, who not only suffocates one of her foster children, but is also found, and I am almost uncomfortable even saying this out loud, to have...
Welcome to Adam in my world.
She's grated another of her foster children. There is blood on the mattress. And Warner says, I know what did this because there are skin fragments and the pattern is like a cheese grater.
Yeah, that's a bad mom.
That's a bad mom.
Yeah.
That's a bad mom.
Uh-huh.
And she gets her husband to take the blame. There's actually, this is like totally spoiler alert, but the last scene in this episode is very satisfying because
we might not draw this one for like 100 episodes. So
yes, who knows? If you want to go watch it, it's you can go watch it. But at the very last scene, the woman is blaming her husband for it, and all of these different things, and how dumb he is. Then of course he's been totally inappropriately behind the wall, even though he's supposed to be incarcerated at the time of this interview. He's watching her through the mirror, so all of this non-realistic police work that's being done. But he kind of bursts through, so she gets really confronted with her badness at the end, which is a little satisfying, for everyone to see like how horrible of a person this human is. So she's on there. No questions.
Yeah. Cheese grating a kid. I think it gets you on there.
Yes. Then this is also another episode you haven't covered yet, which is Poison, episode 24. This is a Casey Novak episode in a lot of ways, and it's not the best episode, but quick synopsis of this episode is that there is a child who gets rushed to the hospital because of poison intake, and they find out that this child is adopted, and the mom has 2 or 3 biological kids, 1 adopted kid, and is well known to be abusive to this adopted kid who's from Eastern Europe. I can't remember exactly where, but from Eastern Europe. And, what the episode actually focuses on is Casey Novak is really pissed that this judge ends up letting this mom off because she's white and she's wealthy. And he says, I can tell you love your mom. There's also really a ton of misogyny in this episode. When you get to it, the judge tells Casey she needs to wear a skirt to the court, which, I'm serious. I'm not making this shit up. He says, Ms. Novak, I hope that when you come into my courtroom, you'll be dressed appropriately. And by that, I hope you'll be in a skirt. So,
is this a one and done judge?
I think so. You'll know better than me. You can probably look him up. I don't know actors by names, but his name is Oliver
Taft. It's a curse
Taft.
if you do.
I don't know.
Looking him up right now.
I think my husband would appreciate it if I could name a few more people by names. Oliver Taft was
it's Tom Skerritt. Holy shit.
So he's apparently famous from your reaction, yes.
That has to be a one and done. There's no way Skerritt's doing multiple episodes.
No, it's it.
He's an Alien, Top Gun.
He's also in Steel Magnolias, which is the thing I would probably know.
Sure.
Because I knew he was famous. Oh, he has the same birthday as my mother.
Oh, he's the sheriff in Picket Fences.
Okay. So I knew him, and the whole time I was watching the episode, I didn't think he was one and done because he looked so familiar to me.
Sure.
But it turns out he's familiar to me from all these other things. So this is also a bad judge episode because he lets this woman off because he's empathetic with her.
He ends up getting investigated by Novak and Marlo Thomas, Judge Clark.
Yeah, I love her. She's one of my
great.
favorite reoccurring characters on the show. Anyway, he lets this woman off. He says, you look like a good family. And by that, he means they're white and wealthy.
Yeah, sure.
Then the woman, not even a few... She looked like a good family, code for racism. So then not even a month later, there's a really cute scene or cute lines, good writing, I guess, because Elliot says, you must have missed us because she's back in the interrogation room because she has then suffocated this child. So this woman, double suffocation of children in one season by a mom.
It's a bad mom.
Again, what was going on? Bad moms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch out. If you're on the fence about having children, just watch this season because we can really fuck them up, it turns out.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of just obvious don't do this at home stuff in season 5, but God forbid my child is writing about me in 20 years on some sort of a sitcom. I don't want to see it, or drama. It's not a sitcom, drama. So I put this mom up there too. I think I'm especially angry at this mom because of the way she uses her class privilege to get out, and that she kills a kid she adopted. Yeah. Because you didn't have to have this kid. This is not your biological child. And you had in this episode, anyway, there was an out for her to release the mom.
At least it wasn't for insurance money.
Yeah, like that other family, the people, what do you call those people who work in the jail? That episode. Remember that one?
Yep.
Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah. That was
with the mom from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Right?
No, it was...
It was the mom?
Yeah, she was totally complicit in it.
She was driving the whole thing?
Well, she wasn't driving it, but it was the two of them.
And they specifically chose a black kid intentionally. Mm-hmm. So there's racism and bad momming in that one. Yeah, that's a heartbreaking episode. And it doesn't even seem heartbreaking at the beginning because it's this random gun violence episode, and then it's really heartbreaking. So I'd put this lady up from Poison on the wall too, or the mountain too. So we have the mom from Bound, faceless, but then we have
a looming presence.
Presence. Then we have the mom from Careless, the mom from Poison, and then the mom from Home.
Yeah. No getting around that one.
No getting around that one.
That's Paperboy is housing a bird. We covered it in 116, season 5, episode 16, Home. So that's the one with Diane Venora, and Joseph Cross is the kid that she doesn't fucking kill.
Well, technically, she doesn't kill anyone.
Yeah, she makes her son. She convinces
her son to kill someone else.
Yeah.
She has not only murdered by proxy, murdered one of her children.
She ordered the death of her
completely fucked up her other two sons, too, you know?
Yep.
In the process.
One of whom is just, like, cut off from the family.
Yes.
And his siblings think he's dead. Yeah.
They think he was killed in the foster care system.
Yep.
So you can maybe, I don't know what that says about the foster care system there, but they, you know, they had said, oh, he was, you know, was murdered in the foster care system. You can't go in. Y'all are going to be murdered there too. Yeah. But this mom, obviously, she's ordered the death, but she also only fed her kids rice cakes and homeschooled them and made them terrified. And, you know, you really just get the portrait of what a deranged, dysfunctional person who is in the role of a mom will do to your children. And it's not good.
No.
Nothing good about it. I love this woman, though, because she has gifted me and my spouse and me, with the ultimate line anytime either one of us is doing anything bad, because we'll just yell "Dyfus" really loudly. So, you know, I guess all in all, though, we can't say that makes up for her perpetuating sins of being a mom over and over again. So those are my 4 from season 5. If you check it out, there's a lot of honorable mentions in here.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of questions about what the heck was going on in that writer's room. And I also wonder, and maybe, again, you can answer this question from someone who's more familiar with film and TV, but do they not catch this? Like, at some point, does someone not say, we just keep writing about moms, or do they just go with it?
So, with a season like this, I think they're probably breaking it up into, like, 4 or 5 chunks that they're like breaking story for this section of the season. They might have like loose ideas for the rest of the season, but they break story in the room. And then someone goes off to write the episodes that are broken. And especially with a Neil Barrier, if you're an X-level writer on the staff, you know, you're getting your however many episodes you should get, and he's spreading them around equitably. But yeah, they're probably breaking, I would guess on SVU, they're breaking like 6 episodes at a time. You know, for like a cable show or a streaming show with a shorter season order, they break the story all at the same time. So they have the whole season like arced out. But with this, since it's procedural, they would break it up into chunks, I believe.
Okay.
So maybe they really just did want to, because this could be, my speculation is that it might be a sort of correction of sorts, because the first 4 seasons are almost always male perps, to the point where like maybe that stops being interesting at a certain point if just every week it's some other guy.
Right.
And with cause, I mean, it's a show about fucking sex crimes, which are predominantly carried out by men. So it stands to reason that would be the case. But I do wonder if maybe it's an attempt at like a course correction of sorts, just to, with especially Bear having run the show for 3 years, like sort of feeling like, okay, well, it's just another long line of sort of the same stories. And if we don't throw them a change up, it might get a little stale for the viewers. I don't know.
That might be what's going on.
But it seems insane to just, I guess the other issue is how, if you're trying to come up with rationale for why someone would do something terrible and it's a woman, I guess what sort of archetypes can you go for?
Right. I mean, James's brother says that Law and Order is basically about bad parenting, but, you know, in some ways. So, but the other 2 things that I'm thinking about mothers is that's really interesting is that when you look at all of these episodes we're talking about, they're not about sex crimes in the ways, you know, they're about the child, like,
the special victims, the children.
Yeah. The childhood victim, and even Bound.
Yeah, to an extent, it's about the child. Well, it's about her basically freeing all these other women from the shackles of their mothers.
Yeah, but there's no
but because
sex
she
crime
was so fundamentally no
at all.
But there is the guy boning the septuagenarians.
Not a crime, though. Consensual,
no, that's pretty great.
Disturbing sex.
There's disturbing consensual sex, for sure. And that robe is wide open. We're meant to see a lot of his bare chest. It's very strange.
Also, I'm all about people in their 80s having sex.
Yeah,
I hope when I'm in my 80s I'm having sex.
Yeah.
And the disturbing part is how the person talks about having sex with the 80-year-old. So let's be very clear.
Yeah. No, he is problematic.
He is very problematic. So, yeah, I mean, I think they think it's a sex crime because the woman, they're called onto the scene at the very beginning. But in the guy, they thought maybe she was raped by this other guy who ends up not to have been the perpetrator, at all. So it is interesting if you think about half of the season focused on the special victim as children as special victims. And then the other thing I'm thinking about as we're talking about this is that there really is such a problematic narrative about mothers in the United States,
sure,
Western culture widely, and kind of allegiance to mothers and what makes it hard for people to put boundaries up with moms, and, all of this kind of stuff. And that's way more nuanced than what we're seeing in this show here. But I do think it's an interesting conversation about, when do you draw the line of not being beholden or bound to your mother? And sure. I know many, many people who really wrestle on a deeper level with actually putting up those boundaries. And of course, Olivia, in the show goes through that over and over again. So maybe there was some of that people were exploring, but it is a really interesting season. If you watch it, if anyone ever has the cause to watch 25 episodes of SVU in a row, you can't get away from it. You're just kind of like, again. So I think there's other seasons that do similar things with other issues, but this one just is really in your face about it.
Right.
Yeah. So curious about season 5. Maybe if you have audience who are the writers of season 5, they can come on and give you some insight.
I wish. It seems like they both have to be. There probably aren't any parents of young children on the writer's staff because they'd be less inclined to want to have children be the victims all the time.
Right.
So it's probably that and children of bad moms.
Yeah. Who signs up to write a show about this shit? It is real. I don't know if Adam feels this way. I mean, I used to watch SVU. I still watch SVU all the time. What am I saying? But definitely now as a parent of young children, it's a little bit more, cuts a little closer in their better episodes. And they're more outlandish episodes, not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're like, oh, God. Guess we won't be doing sleepovers.
Still probably for him, it's mostly, man, I can't believe they're having these kids do this, have to do this shit.
I know. It's true. It's true.
So many kid actors do not keep going after SVU.
That's also kind of interesting. I'm thinking, I hadn't thought about that. But this season, I think a lot of the ones we're talking about, you don't see the kid actors. It really is a
body.
Besides home. Home. Yeah. You have the sure. kid who has to, I will say this season takes on fetal alcohol syndrome. It's also going to take on shaken baby syndrome, so they're really going at it with the impact of moms.
They're hitting every bad mom opportunity they can.
Yeah. There's a
Manic's the medication one,
Yeah. Moms who don't have the support.
Yeah. Name your offense. A mom is fucking committing it.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Cheese grating a kid.
I won't cheese grate my kid. Will I ever share my pharmaceutical psychosomatic drugs with my children? Probably not. No, I don't.
But because of Manic, because of how effective Manic
Because of Manic. I would have, before I watched that,
right.
I would have thought about that, yeah. But yeah, so anyways, if you want to go down the Freudian hole of maternal impact, just get a bag or two of popcorn and Hulu will just stream this straight through for you.
Yep, you can mainline it.
Yep. Great. Well, thanks for having me on again. This is super fun.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
So, Natalie, Adam also surely thanks you. He is, I believe, en route between Houston and Albuquerque right now. But yes, thank you for joining us again.
Enchanting drive.
Well, part of it is.
Yeah.
The first chunk of Texas isn't so fun, but yeah.
That's what they call New Mexico.
Oh, yeah, Land of Enchantment. Yep.
Yeah, so hopefully he's gotten to the enchanting part.
Maybe my favorite state.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I love New Mexico.
I have a really good friend who lives there in Navajo land.
Right on.
Yeah, really beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, so yeah, Adam, we hope you got there safely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, thanks for listening, everybody. You'll hear us in a few days.
Bye for now.